Welcome to another episode, everyone. Sin City Manny. You remember him, the YouTuber who is accused of deleting two other YouTubers. They had a YouTube beef. This happened sometime last year, early last year, nearly a year ago. They had a YouTube beef. And he's accused of deleting an individual right there on the Las Vegas Strip, caught on camera, and his wife. His wife started yelling. He wasn't after the wife. She started yelling when this individual allegedly was shooting her husband, and again, about to see it, it's all caught on camera. And he turned around and turned the gun on her and shot her. They're trying to give him the death penalty. Manny Ruiz, Sin City Manny, the YouTuber. He's here in court. Let's see what his defense is and what the courts are trying to do to him. Again, all of this over the internet and over a YouTube beef that really turned deadly. 2 people dead and now possibly a third. If they give him the death penalty and carry it out, they're going to kill him. 3 people have lost their lives. Nothing else, he's looking at life in prison for the double murder. Life without parole or something. They're trying to give him the death penalty. Over some back and forth on YouTube. And the individual apparently lost it, couldn't take it anymore. Let the anger get the best of him and took it to the street. And deleted this man over a beef that they had over YouTube, and his wife, who was with him, just went berserk with the blicky.
See, 392-745, State Rebuttal versus Manny Ruiz. The record reflects that Mr. Ruiz is present in custody. Mr. Lopez de Grady is here on his behalf. Ms. Mercer and Mr. Pesci are here on behalf of the state. This is the date and time set for the defendant's motion for reasonable bail. I have read the motion. I've read the opposition. Mr. Lopez de Grady, do you have anything you want to add to your moving papers?
Yes, Your Honor. I appreciate the opportunity. Just a couple of points to respond to the state's opposition. I think when you look at the evidence in this case, especially obviously the video, let's talk about what it doesn't show, right? The absence of evidence can be just as informative as the evidence that's actually in the case. And if we were talking about a premeditated first-degree murder here, you could have seen Mr. Ruiz walking straight up to the Finleys while they were there on the strip and locked and loaded, go ahead and shoot them right then and there. He had the perfect opportunity to do that, if that was truly his design that day. That didn't happen. Okay, he walks past them, so maybe he didn't see them. But at some point, he does see them, right? The state makes a big point about him returning and engaging with them again. At that point, Mr. Ruiz didn't simply notice that they were there. When they weren't looking, go ahead and shoot them behind them. He didn't do that either. And that could be evident proof for a great presumption that there was a first-degree murder. But as I said, that's not the evidence that we have here. Instead, we have no violence occurring in this case until there's an actual confrontation. And the whole issue here is, what is this confrontation about? The state likes to characterize it as a type of re-engaging, that Mr. Ruiz went back and re-engaged Ms. Finley. But if you look at it, the video shows that it looks like Ms. Finley's actually corralling Mr. Ruiz back into frame and back towards Mr. Finley. If you listen to the video, around 15 to 16 seconds into the exhibit that the state...
I don't know what this man is talking about, what video he's talking about. Nevertheless, I am not a lawyer, prosecutor, judge, jury, any of this stuff, so I'm not here to litigate the case or to point any fingers or whatever, but the clip that I've seen, the video I've seen, you all can go check it out. Just look at Sin City Manny, punch in Manny Ruiz, whatever, it's going to pop up the video. It's all on video where he walks up, and I guess I can say I don't have to say allegedly because they are all admitting that it was him. It's on video. And him, saying what he was going to do ahead of time as he's driving in his car. He made a video saying, "Oh, you out here and you in my city, you in Las Vegas?" Because, the other dude, Rodney, I think his name was, Rodney Finley, had made a video saying that he was out in Las Vegas or would be out in Las Vegas or whatever. And again, they were beefing. So Manny makes a video saying, "Oh, you going to be out here in Vegas?" So this dude is saying it's not premeditated. I don't know. Again, I'm not here to litigate the case, but he says that he walked right past him, Manny, and he didn't shoot then, so it's not premeditated. Only when he came back and there was a confrontation. I didn't see any confrontation. I seen him just open fire, come by, see them and open fire. He said that the wife corralled him. The wife corralled him. What? I just looked at the video again before this to make sure I know what I'm talking about. The wife saw him walk up. She didn't touch him. She said, oh my God, because he put out the gun and started shooting, and she just got out of the way, was backing up, just started trying to walk towards her husband or whatever, who's down there bleeding, but she didn't corral him or touch him or grab him or nothing that I've seen. But, he's trying to fight the case. You got to come up with some sort of defense because it's on camera and it's not looking good. They're trying to give him the death penalty. He says he's innocent. He said that it was self-defense. That's his defense, that it was self-defense.
Attached, you can hear Ms. Finley saying something to the effect of, get your ass over here. That's in the facts. And then you also see her getting in Mr. Ruiz's face at that point. There's already this confrontation and it's a charged environment. And even then, even at that point, even though he's carrying a weapon at that point, he doesn't shoot. He doesn't shoot Ms. Finley. He doesn't shoot Mr. Finley right away when she is getting in his face. At that point then, you see the video and there's some movement. It looks like there's actual jockeying between Ms. Finley and Mr. Ruiz where she's getting in his face. But it was only after Mr. Finley basically steps to Mr. Ruiz saying, what up, cuz? And you can hear that in the video around 18 to 19 seconds into the state's exhibit. And it's only because Mr. Ruiz saw Mr. Finley reaching towards his waistband, that at that point, you can hear in the video, Mr. Ruiz racks the gun, so it wasn't even preloaded, and then at that point, shoots. And that's exactly what distinguishes this type of situation from the case that the state cites in their moving papers, this U.S. v. Urena. I'll note for the record that's a Ninth Circuit case regarding...
I don't know. Again, I'm not here to litigate the case, but this dude is talking to me like I'm stupid or something. He said he racks the gun, so it wasn't even loaded at first, as if he sat there and loaded the weapon. No, you mean he put one in the chamber and then unloaded enough bullets to kill two people. So he didn't sit there and load bullet after bullet or load the clip full of bullets. It was already in there. He racked it back to pop one in the chamber, and then it was ready to go. This dude talking to us like we ain't got no freaking sense, man. But as I said, I get it. You got to try to come up with some sort of defense because the tape looks bad. And again, he's not even denying that his client here, Sin City Manny Ruiz, he's not denying that he did it. So I don't have to say allegedly. He's saying that he did it. He's just denying that it was premeditated, and he's trying to say that it was provoked. That he was just walking, minding his own business. He'd already walked past these people, hadn't said nothing, hadn't used his weapon. He had the weapon on him, hadn't even said nothing. Only when he came back. Why did you come back? You know you got a beef with him, you got a problem with him, but okay, whatever. Only when he came back, he says the wife then got aggressive or tried to corral him, and this is what ignited everything. Not necessarily what I see in the video, but we'll see. We'll see what the prosecutor has to say and the judge, because this is the defense and their side, and he wants to paint a narrative and a picture. He has no choice. He has to try to save his client. I would expect my lawyer to get up there and try to say some stuff too, try to get me out of this mess, try to make it seem like, they did it, they started it, or whatever. They would say something.
A federal trial in California that did not involve Nevada law. But in that case, it had to do with, I think it was an altercation between two inmates. And one of them decided to attack the other because they insulted them. And so the court went on to say, no, you can't simply attack somebody for fighting words, that kind of thing. In this case, we have Mr. Ruiz seeing Mr. Finley reaching towards his waistband, making this hostile, what up, cuz, remark at him. And then in the back of Mr. Ruiz's mind, you have this history that we outlined in our moving papers regarding his post-traumatic stress disorder, where he was the victim of a brutal stabbing when he was a young man. But more importantly, and more to the point in this situation, we have the prior violent altercation between Mr. Ruiz and the Finleys, which is documented in the police report, where you see Mr. Ruiz actually reaching out to the authorities for help regarding this kind of situation. And so this is all happening in the back of Mr. Ruiz's mind, in the split of a second, right? When he has this confrontation at him, and it's only at that point that Mr. Ruiz fires. And if you examine the injuries that Mr. Finley suffered, you can see that they are towards his wrist, towards his arm, and towards his forearm, consistent with him trying to stop him from reaching for something, right? And then as we noted, ultimately.
Yeah. So this is typically the police's defense as well, right? Whenever they delete someone, typically a black man, unalive, one of our beautiful brothers, they say that he was either armed or we thought that he was armed. We now know, of course, that neither one of these individuals that lost their lives, the husband or the wife, was armed. Neither one of them had a weapon. So he's saying that he saw them reaching, or he saw the other individual, Rodney, I believe again is his name, reaching for what he believed to be a weapon, or he thought it may have been a cell phone because he didn't have a weapon, if he was reaching at all, of course. But he said he saw him reaching, and so he opened fire. Well, no. Someone reaching does not put your life in danger. You need to see a weapon in order to be able to protect yourself. You see a weapon, then yeah, you have the right to protect yourself. And you say, well, I got to wait till I actually see a weapon. By then it might be too late. No, not if you got your weapon on you. You got to see a weapon, because he may not have one. He didn't. So you didn't open fire, killed him and his wife. Why did you kill a wife then? Was she reaching for something too? Let's see. Maybe we're about to get into why he shot the wife then and killed her.
Mr. Ruiz kept shooting because it seemed like Mr. Finley was not stopping, and ultimately laid a fatal shot. And then if we look at Ms. Finley, you actually have testimony from one of the state's witnesses at the grand jury proceeding, this Hansel Martinez, who talks about seeing a female go over near the fountain and grab something. And that's exactly what Mr. Ruiz was seeing regarding Ms. Finley. Another situation where he was in threat of his life, or in threat of great bodily injury, which is what Nevada law allows for in terms of a justified self-defense killing. You can use deadly force not only when it's actual danger, but when it's apparent danger. So when the state makes the argument that there were no weapons recovered at the scene, Nevada law does not simply say, well, you can't use self-defense in that situation. If it's apparent danger, you are allowed to use self-defense. Another point that I just want to respond to, the video that the state included, that video dates back to at least, and this is by the state's admission, at least 7 months before this incident. If you look at the video, it seems like there's some text overlaid on top of it, so it looks like it might have been reposted by somebody. So I'll just make the point that it's at least 7 months before. And so when we're talking about a premeditated design to ultimately take Mr. Finley and Ms. Finley's lives, that's a very attenuated connection, 7 months before. Not only that, we're talking about an online video, right, that is garnered for attention, but also done by Mr. Ruiz in that moment in character. He's wearing makeup, he's laughing, and he's clearly not being in any way serious. So I'd ask the court to take that into consideration.
Okay, so he says the wife looked like she was going towards a water fountain or something. Okay, so I guess he's saying the wife looked like she was going to grab something. Once again, no weapons were recovered at the scene, as he just alluded to. Neither one of them had a weapon. So because the wife walked off and looked like she was heading to a water faucet, you assume she was going to get a gun and that your life was in danger, so you killed her. That's your defense? I guess he just, what can you do, man? You don't really have a defense, much of a viable one. You got to come up with something. It's been a while, and this is what they've come up with. You got to try to fight the charges. I get it. But again, we'll see what the judge and the prosecution have to say. I'm sure they have a rebuttal for this one right here. I mean, jeez.
It's not an actual threat. It's not in any way crucial evidence of premeditation. Obviously, Mr. Ruiz responded to the situation wrongly. He shouldn't have fled. He should have stayed behind, surrendered to police at that point, and faced the consequences. But that's exactly what he did when he was able to actually remove himself from the situation, which is shocking by any account. He remedied this grave lapse in judgment about fleeing by doing what? Turning himself in voluntarily. And that's why he's in custody now, because he realized that this is serious and that he needs to answer for this conduct. But in trying to assess his candidacy for bail, I'd ask the court to take that into consideration. And as we laid out, he has a clean criminal history, and he has a lot of support in the community. His family, or his wife, is present in court, as well as a bunch of supporters here in the front and the back 2 rows who are here with him. And so I'd ask the court to take that into consideration as well. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Lopez. You ready to state?
Your Honor, it's the state's position that the proof is evident and the presumption is great in this case. There was a long-standing feud between these 2 parties. Approximately 6 months prior to the incident occurring is when when the defendant alleges that he was battered by Tanisha Finley with a selfie stick. He then, approximately a week later, posts the video in which he says something to the effect of, "If I catch you at a red light, Finny, pop, pop, pop." He clearly had a great degree of animosity towards these 2 people. He, in fact, admitted to law enforcement that 2 months prior to the shooting occurring, he approached the Finleys while they were on Fremont Street and called Mr. Finley the P word, the P-U-S-S-Y word. He was continuously seeking out confrontations with these individuals. And when you watch the video that the state provided of the shooting itself, it does not appear that that was a chance encounter. He, yes, initially casually walks by, but is clearly aware that they're there. He then turns around and seeks out a confrontation with these 2 people. Tanisha Finley is in no way, shape, or form acting violently when she stands between the defendant and her husband. She's trying to protect her husband. She's trying to keep Mr. Ruiz away from her husband. And it's at that point that he then reaches around her and starts firing 5 separate rounds into her husband with her standing there watching. Mr. Lopez Negretti attempted to tell this court that the injuries to his arm were consistent with, I think he said it was consistent with Mr. Finley trying to grab something. It's actually consistent with him trying to shield himself from being shot in the face by the defendant. Then, after he fires 5 rounds into Mr. Finley, he then turns his attention to Tanisha Finley, who's standing there screaming in horror at the fact that she's just watched her husband be shot and killed, and fires 2 rounds into her head. His claim of self-defense is absolutely absurd, especially when you read his statement, because he repeatedly admits that he never once saw either one of them in possession of a weapon. He never tells the police that in these multiple encounters prior to the shooting, that he's ever seen them armed with a weapon. He knows that they're streamers. He knows that they're carrying video equipment with them. There's just absolutely no indication that this killing was done in self-defense, Your Honor. His conduct afterwards is also completely inconsistent with self-defense. He takes his phone, obviously so he can't be tracked, or he leaves his phone with his wife, obviously so he can't be tracked, and then he misdirects police because the first responding officer actually encountered him at the median on Las Vegas Boulevard and says, "Where did the shooter go?" And he points out a completely different person and gives them a bad description and then keeps running. He sheds his clothing, he sheds the gun, he catches an Uber down the strip and eventually leaves the area. He has 12 hours before he turns himself in to come up with this concocted self-defense claim. Of course, indulgence. It is the state's position, Your Honor, that even if you were to accept the defendant's claim of self-defense, it's obviously not, it would obviously be an imperfect self-defense claim, which is secondary murder with use. And when you look at Tanisha Finley, that becomes a first, because he has had plenty of time to premeditate, act willfully, and deliberately at that point. And with that, I'll submit it.
All right, thank you, Ms. Mercer. Mr. Lopez, ready?
Just one point, Your Honor. This wasn't concocted. I don't know how you could concoct a prior incident where Mr. Ruiz actually recurred to authorities, right? And we provided the police report that he filed, right? And this was months before, or actually even more than that. And again, the confrontation at that point was violent by the Finleys towards Mr. Ruiz. So it's only them that introduced the violence into the equation. And that's what was in the back of Mr. Ruiz's mind when, again, he encountered them and they had this confrontation. So I'd ask the court to just reinforce that.
All right, well, the court is going to rewatch the video and I will issue a written decision this afternoon.
Thank you so much.
Okay? CCD stuff showed us everything.
Yes,
So I'm going to let you download, say that one with
Wow. Okay. After all of that, the judge said she's going to rewatch the video and give a written decision this afternoon. That's what she said. She heard both arguments and said she's going to rewatch the video. So, of course, she's already watched the video, the judge. She said she'll watch it again, closely, deliberately, maybe 15, 20 times to see what the defense is saying and what the prosecution is saying. And make a decision, a written decision, I suppose, as to whether or not this was self-defense or not. I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments. You heard what the prosecutor had to say when they had their turn, that this was not self-defense, that, he had made videos talking about pop, 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 that he turned around and shot the wife twice in the head, that he saw no weapon, that there was no weapon, that there was animosity between these individuals. He kept looking for a confrontation between these individuals. Yes, he kept walking at first, but he turned back around looking for a confrontation. The wife had just stepped in trying to protect her husband. He reached around her and shot the husband 5 times and then just lost it and turned around and popped the wife twice in the head. I did see the video. It's graphic. It's bad. It's crazy. Those 2 people lost their lives. We'll see what happened. He's facing the death penalty. But we see what his defense is now. We just got a glimpse into his defense, that it was self-defense. That's his defense, that it was self-defense, that he thought this individual was reaching for something, that it was not premeditated, because he walked by at first, already had his loaded weapon, had never done anything. So if it was so premeditated, how come he didn't open fire then? Is the defense's position. Nevertheless, he came back and then eventually opened fire on both of them and killed both of them. We'll see what happens. We'll follow the case. The judge, I'm going to see if I can find what the written decision was, even though I'm surmising what it is already. But the judge said she was going to have a written decision, and we'll see what happened there. But we'll continue to follow this case. I want to know what happens myself. Again, he's facing the death penalty. Will he get the death penalty? Will they acknowledge self-defense at some point in this case and say, yeah, he had a right to open fire on both of them and kill both of them? This is just an illustration on how YouTube itself, the internet, TikTok, Instagram, or whatever, can lead to death. These individuals had a back and forth going on YouTube. They both had YouTube channels. Neither one of them had, prolific YouTube channel. I think Manny had about 20,000 subscribers, the individual here, the suspect. And the victim had, I think, 4,000 or 5,000 subscribers, 6,000, something like that. But whatever, it's something, and everyone, they were working their way up. And they had learned that when they were beefing with one another, their views were going up. So they were making content on one another, just talking bad about one another. And the victim was saying how this dude, Manny, was a fake YouTuber and no good YouTuber and whatever. He was calling him out in nearly every video he was making was about Manny. Manny clearly took umbrage to this. They were making videos back and forth about one another. And then, as I said, they had some prior confrontations. The victims were not even from Las Vegas. They were out in Las Vegas visiting when this incident happened, making content. They made content in Vegas when Manny just happened to run across them there on the strip. after all of this back and forth on the internet, him already sort of threatening, pop, 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 and whatever when I see you, you know, going back and forth. And clearly he lost it because, again, took out the wife too. The wife really had nothing to do with it. They were not beefing. The fact that he put two in her head lets me know that he had blanked out. He had just got this dude. Now you on. Now you in that mode. Now you got this thing in your hand. It's smoking. It's hot. And you just feeling invincible. And you just took one dude out and you just, you know, F you too. This was your husband, you know. She over there hollering and, what are you doing? And he just, what? Get you too. And dropped her. Cold situation. We'll see what happens, man. That, you know, you be careful on this internet with these internet beefs and everything else. They can, as we see, they can turn deadly. You know, individuals are not laced with emotional intelligence. And they don't have the emotional makeup to deal with conflict and crisis type situations, and their emotions supersede their intelligence, and you end up in a situation like this. Let me know what you think in the comments. Stay safe and stay free, people.